Welcome to You, Me, Empathy, a safe place for leading with your heart. Hey, thanks for being here. You, Me, Empathy is the official podcast of the Feely Human Collective, a collaborative mental health community designed to empower each of us to grow our capacity for empathy, vulnerability, and emotional wayfinding. Just a friendly reminder that this podcast is for educational and entertainment purposes only and is not a substitute for medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. No one is just a silly boy with a feely heart. You can support the show by leaving a review in Apple Podcasts, following us on social media at Yumi Empathy and Feely Human, and joining the Feely Human Collective community at feelyhuman.co. And now your host, Known Wells.
Hello, Feely Humans. Welcome to another episode of You, Me, Empathy. My name is Known Wells, and this is episode 201 on Why Music is Feely with Feely Human and rocker Brett Newski. Brett and I talk about being bullied in high school, the tunnel vision of anxiety, embracing our small victories, and why music is feely, and so much more. I loved this chat. Love Brett. He's a sweet dude. Really enjoyed this conversation. Before we get to it, though, just a couple of reminders. Please leave a rating and review for Yumi Empathy in Apple Podcasts. It does truly help out the show, I promise. Thank you for doing that. Let's get to 200 ratings. I know we can do it. Second item is that on November 24th, I will be hosting a Boundaries and the Holidays chat over Zoom. A free chat. You don't have to pay anything. It's just a chat with other Feely Humans about holding and maintaining and what do boundaries look like right now for the holidays coming up. Look out for more details about how to sign up for that, how to RSVP to that on Instagram. And also the my newsletter. So make sure to subscribe to my list. Go to feelyhuman.co, click on the community tab, and click on newsletter. Sign up there as well. But I'll also be sharing more about that on social media, at feelyhuman on Instagram and at youmeempathy on Instagram. And the last thing is that right now in the Feely Human shop at feelyhuman.co/shop, it's buy one, get one free. That means if you buy a pin, you can get a pin for free or a sticker for free. If you buy a t-shirt, you can get another t-shirt for free or anything under that amount. Now through the end of the year, it's the biggest sale that I've held for Feely Human. Feel weird about it, but I'm trying to make a little bit money because I have some big projects and some big ideas that I want to put that money into. And, running a business is weird. And if you can support me, great. If not, that's cool too. Go to feelyhuman.co/shop and check it out. I got stickers, pins, t-shirts, mugs, etc. Okay, let's get to the episode. This is episode 201 on Why Music is Feely with Brett Newski.
You and me, empathy, la la la, la 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 la. You, me, empathy, yeah, la la la.
Welcome to You, Me, Empathy, the official podcast of the Feely Human Collective. On this show, we explore the struggles, the triumphs, the brights and the darks we face as humans trying to get by on this wondrous and overwhelming pale blue dot. The intent of Yumi Empathy is to talk openly, without judgment, about our mental health, our neuroses, our shared anxieties and worries, to create a dialogue that is vulnerable and deeply human and empathetic, and to share that dialogue with others to inspire emotional and cognitive collaboration and insight, so we can, hand in hand, break down the stigma that make us feel shame and guilt for struggling, for feeling our feelings, for being feely humans. You Me Empathy is a safe, friendly space designed to inspire the beauty in each of us. Today, I'm an anxious 80s kid here with an anxious 90s kid, songwriter, illustrator, and author of the book It's Hard to Be a Person. It's Brett Newski. Hello, Brett.
What's up, Known? Thanks for hosting me.
Yeah, so happy to have you. I've had maybe one other musician on the show. I've listened to your music. It rocks. I'm into it. Happy to have you here.
Yeah, I'm surprised you don't have more musicians. We all need help. You know?
What do you mean by that? Break that down for me.
I don't know. I think songwriters in particular are just probably some of the most consistently neurotic people in the world. Where this kind of stuff, this is the pod for us, to kind of hash it out because you got to do it. I think audience members and listeners see musicians or see them from stage, and they're seeing them in like extroversion, like character mode almost, and it's like that's like a very temporary state for most performers. Whereas I think most performers are introverts and very weird off stage, or at least very introverted.
Yeah. So I'm assuming you're speaking about yourself in this regard. As are you an introvert?
Yeah, big time. I mean, I don't get energy from crowds, really. You can certainly get a buzz from a crowd when you're like playing in front of a lot of people. That's really neat.
Yeah.
But yeah, like, especially like before and after shows, like I'm not someone who craves like social attention. Like I just find like a lot of pressure around it. Like it's, I always feel like I owe people things, or I at least don't want to be the guy who like makes the wrong type of eye contact, and then someone at the show is like, "Oh yeah, he looked at me weird. That guy's an asshole," and then that's their opinion of you, because that can certainly happen. So, but you don't want to think about that stuff too much either.
I think I've never been on stage, not an actor, not a musician, not a comedian, but I get the eye contact thing. It's like it's an introvert thing, but it's also like just a sensitivity, not wanting to like put our stuff on others, not wanting to like presume anything, just sort of like being this, I don't know, safe, neutral, amorphous force that hides in the corner.
Yeah, for sure. Eye contact is a tough thing, and it is really magical though when you're like talking to somebody and they're just like looking at you in the eye the whole time, like in a non-psychotic way. Occasionally you talk to someone who has like a lot of charisma, but you can just see like their eyes are kind of glossed over when you start talking, and there's like nobody home in there. You know what I mean? But for the most part, like when someone is like making good eye contact, I'm like, wow, that's cool. Like I'm feeling it,
Well, you feel seen. And, I think it goes back to this human need we all have to feel seen and heard and empathize with and respected and all that, right? Yeah. So we always kick off the show, Brett, with an emotional check-in. How are you feeling? How was your week?
I'm having a great week. I think it's because I was coming off like a big trough, it seems to go in cycles like that where, you're down and anxious for a few days or a week. And then with that, that's always temporary, just like everything. So, there's a better week ahead. So I feel I'm having a good time. It's nice to have fun in life, because I've spent lots of time in life not having fun and just, freaking out and having my brain attack me kind of thing. What about you?
Yeah. Definitely a tough week on the sort of exhaustion front. I have not been sleeping well, and last night our power went out, and so my wife and I, we sleep with like a noise machine, white noise machine, and it went off. So our power went off, that went off, and then for the next like 2 hours, I laid in bed listening to this sort of far away dog barking just nonstop. And then, of course, my anxiety brain was like, what is going on with this dog? I'm angry at this dog. That's the first feeling. And then the second feeling was like, why is the dog outside? what are these people doing to this dog? And then I sort of got in my head about the dog being abused, and it was just this whole spiral
Oh
of
man.
anxiety and feelings. And eventually I fell asleep, but I'm just tired.
Man, people's it's kind of funny how like just how I feel like and I could be wrong on this, but I feel like America has more mental health problems than anywhere else in the world. And with that, I feel like the dogs in America also have more mental health problems than anywhere in the world. You know, like it's not like if you go to Europe or Mexico or you don't see people's dogs just like freaking out at every other dog or like going nuts or, crapping on the sidewalk. It's like the dogs are off leash. They're just walking around. They're well behaved. They're calm. They're feeling zen. So
Yeah,
it's just a
that's an
weird
interesting
observation.
insight.
But
Yeah.
yeah.
I think it's because, I think about this a lot as a dog person, as an animal person. We put a lot on our dogs. We project a lot. We sort of, and they are mirrors for us. So they sort of taking on our own sort of insecurities and our, whatever it may be. They're empathetic, soft mirrors for us humans. So
Big time.
it behooves us to do our own work so we're not sort of torturing our dogs.
Yeah. You got to feel for the dogs because they are kind of like the vent. They're like the free therapy. And granted, most dogs I feel like have pretty sweet lives. You get to go for walks, you get to lounge on couches, eat free food, do a lot of leisure. But yeah, I think most people have some wobbles going on, and those wobbles are wobbling directly onto the pup. So
yeah,
sure.
So tell me about your wobbles, Brett. When did you sort of first, I guess, you talk about your anxiety a lot. When did you first sort of discern or learn that you like, oh, I have anxiety. This is in me.
Well, I always like felt like pretty weird as a kid. Like, I would have a lot of great days, and I wasn't like down all the time by any means, but I would always get this tunnel vision of like, oh no, this teacher at school hates me, or I said something that could have been misinterpreted to this kid or this girl that I like, and she'll never talk to me again. And then I would just like have obsessive thoughts, like circular thinking about that kind of stuff. And that's always gone on. And then, as you kind of get older and explore these types of things, and especially in the last couple of years, it's like mental health's come to the forefront in like mainstream talk. So I eventually just got diagnosed by a doctor because I was having like massively brutal acid reflux problems to the point where I couldn't sing anymore. And I was just panicked about my voice and my heartburn so bad that he was like the first doctor out of like 8 that put me on a anti-anxiety medicine. And then it cured my acid reflux immediately. So I knew it wasn't that, it was anxiety triggering it. And that was kind of a big moment. And I think medicine's really good, especially through those troughs, like through the big lurch. Because I would say it's like when you're just like doing all the things in your power to feel better, exercise, hanging out with friends, just working hard at eating healthy, and you still feel like shit every day, then it's like time to maybe consider like a low dose of some sort of anti-anxiety medicine. That's good. But I don't know. I definitely don't want to be on it like all the time, but I'm a big proponent for it in stretches,
Yeah, absolutely. I think that, so I have major depressive disorder. I have to be on an antidepressant. Otherwise, every day would be like a suicidal sort of roller coaster.
Sure.
And it's such a, like, I just wanted to honor you in that, like, it is a big step to like say, hey, I am struggling. I am going to do the work of like going through 8 doctors to figure out what's going on in my body. And because it's like anxiety or depression or these things that we all experience, it's a weird feeling. It's a hard feeling. It's a weird feeling. And I think it takes courage to say, I deserve to get this checked out.
Yeah, I mean, what a great time in history that these medicines exist, because like 30 years ago they didn't, and then people would just see us as like sad people, and we just wouldn't achieve our full potential or whatever. So Yeah, that's pretty cool. And when you say major depressive disorder, that's just like it's just chronic, like lulls hard to climb out of kind of thing.
Yeah, it's a chronic depression. It's just like a, when someone says like I'm depressed, that's not. I have clinical depression. So and major depressive disorder is sort of like a level up. It's like depression on steroids, I guess.
Yeah. When did you kind of begin to tackle that and figure out like the medicine was going to help you a lot?
First of all, how dare you? This is my podcast. I'm just kidding. Well, it was honestly, I've had depression my whole life, and for the longest time, I repressed it and just kind of did my thing and destructed it in many ways. And then I think it was about 4 years ago when I found the sort of antidepressant that sort of worked for me. Because I went through a series of cycles of just like trying different ones and they didn't work. And eventually I took this amazing test called GeneSight. It's a company that does like a genetic test, and it sort of tests your blood for the types of meds that work based on your genetic code, I guess.
Oh, nice.
And apparently my body is like rejects most medications. But this one antidepressant, which is called Vibrid, sort of works for me. So,
oh, cool. Wow,
yeah.
Man, what a crazy technology. I mean, imagine where that's going to be even in 10 years, where you'll just like, you'll get a body scan and like immediately know if anything's wrong with you in like a minute,
Totally. Well, and the anxiety and the exhaustion of just like trying to figure out what's wrong and having to go to different doctors and having to try different meds and like the sort of side effects of those meds, and that whole journey is fucking exhausting.
Brutal. Yeah. And like I'm a hypochondriac to begin with. I don't know if you are. So I create physical ailments with my brain. So my brain will like make something up in my head and I'll legitimately like get a rash on my ass or something, like something physical.
You get those ass rashes?
Yeah. Oh yeah. But when I don't, I got no ass rash when I don't worry about it, so
yeah,
it's pretty crazy what the brain can really attack you.
Well, and it's the ass rash, while hilarious, it's also a reminder that like our bodies hold a lot, right? Like our bodies are holding stuff that we're not even aware of, right? Like past traumas, etc.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. And now that I'm thinking about it, what about the contrary to this new technology? What if you can step into a scanner machine and within 1 minute get a diagnosis if anything's wrong with you? Think about how many times per year we would be stepping into those machines, and then if we weren't at perfection, we would just be spending all this crazy money on weird medicine to try to become ultra cyborgs.
Well, this is just became a Tom Cruise sci-fi vehicle. A la Minority Report or something.
Yeah.
So, you get medicated. So tell me about like your experience as a child, because I know for me, like, as a sensitive person, you feel like a sensitive guy. Like I sort of took on a lot. I sort of burdened myself with a lot the feelings of others all the time. I repressed a lot. I was in an environment that was not safe in my family very often. Like, what was your childhood like? How would you describe it?
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm pretty lucky. I had a pretty sweet childhood for the most part, as far as family life and parents. Like,
Nice.
My parents are real sweet, real supportive, super friendly people. I don't know. I don't know if they. I mean, my pops is not like a ultra sensitive fella, even though he's a legend like I am. Even though he is a legend, I am not a legend. I am working to become my pops, who is a legend.
How is he a legend?
Just kind of one of these eternally optimistic guys who never gets down. And he's not like faking it either. He's just like, for whatever reason, he got all the good brain chemicals or whatever. So he just doesn't know how to relate to someone with anxiety or depression or whatever. And I think that made it hard to connect, like on a deeper level, like through the years. We've shared like a common love for basketball and rock and roll. So we've always had a good time together. And my mom is much more neurotic like I am. And but yeah, as far as family life, that was sweet. I did have a hell of a time getting through like middle school and high school. That was, I think, the formative experience of just like emotional trauma and beat downs and just bullying and just like a really conservative like non-feely high school, just like a whatever, a standard American pie Hollywood shitty high school experience.
Yeah, this was in Wisconsin.
Yeah. So I'm sure a lot of people had it a lot worse than I did, but I remember like I'm trying to think, like people would draw like huge penises on my locker and say Newski loves cock or whatever, and that was fun, I guess. But like getting smashed into lockers and punched in the kidneys, where you like legitimately worried for your like physical safety, like each day at school, that sucked. And then I remember like one day, like in middle school, the kid sitting next to me on the bus was like, "Hey man, your best friend says you're a queer," and then I was like, "There's no way my best friend would say that." And then sure enough, my best friend had like turned on me because he was like being absorbed into this new cool kid clique, and then I wasn't. And he didn't really have a choice. I think they were probably going to emotionally beat him down or physically whoop on him if he didn't turn on me. But just like stuff like that really messed me up. But all this stuff, most of this stuff is like, I get a lot of comedic joy out of it at this point in my life because I can talk about it in jest. But yeah, you're right. It probably is like held in somewhere where it's not doing me any favors.
Well, I mean, I'm sorry that you had to go through that. I experienced a bit of that in high school, and like I did not like high school. I didn't even like college. Like I always felt like a little bit of alone and a little bit sort of an outsider. And sort of hearing you talk about like the lockers and the dicks and the sort of the queer name calling, like, God, I hope as a society, as a culture, we're progressing, because I mean, I don't know how old you are. I'm guessing in your 30s.
I'm 34. Yeah.
There you go. Yeah. So I'm 40. We grew up relatively around the same time. There was just a lot of that toxicity. I just hope culturally we're progressing.
Yeah, although, and that stuff is all messed up and whack. Although I do kind of wonder, it's like, if my parents pulled me out of school and put me in like some private school, I don't know if that would have been the move either. You know what I mean? Because then it was like, it would have been a little bit of a cop out, and I wouldn't have had all these like hard knocks and like good lessons that I feel like are actually serving me at this point in life. But yeah, who knows? It's like you don't want to nerf your kids either.
Yeah, no, for sure. And that's what you had and what you experienced. And there's a lot of obviously opportunity for reflection and hindsight, right? And understanding that, like, oh yeah, those experiences, like I can talk about them now and just as you said, and sort of gain some wisdom nuggets and stuff like that, and that's helpful. And also, fuck those kids who called you queer and drew dicks on your locker. Like I hate that because that's such a, like, to me.
Yeah, but their dad was probably kicking their own ass.
Maybe right. So I do have empathy. And also, I feel like there is a lot of that toxicity in masculinity and sort of bro culture and wellness culture. There's a lot of that toxicity today that still thrives and is still rewarded. And I do my best on the show to try to rail against it. And it's still sort of reigns supreme, I guess, in my head.
Yeah. It is a weird thing because, like, I feel lucky at this point in life, especially in like in my friend circles and even in a career sense. Like, I'm around like people that are pretty open minded, that like music, that like to explore new kinds of indie music. I get to hang out with all kinds of cool weirdos and hippies that come to our shows. So I'm like a bit removed from those like macho circles. Which is quite a luxury, because then you like once in a while we'll have a weird tour date in like, I don't know, Scottsdale, Arizona, and like the crowd is just like jacked guys with like tans, like chasing sunburnt ladies, like with like
Yep,
barbed
yep.
wire tattoos, and they're all gelled up and on the town and on the prowl, and it's very primal, and it's like they're like the worst audiences ever to play for. And I was like, oh, I forgot this was like still a thing.
Yeah.
But it's all good. I think things are going in the right direction, and people are getting nicer for the most part. I don't think people want to be assholes. I think that they do it because they feel irrelevant, and they need something to stand for. But at the end of the day, it's like such a waste of energy. I think any mean person who's mean, when they take a break from being mean for a moment, they realize how much energy they have to spend on other stuff, and they're like, all right.
I hope that's the case, Brett. I think that's tremendously. I mean, you're sort of channeling your pops in that optimism. I love that, I like that perspective. And I think you're right. I think there is a lot of meanness or unkindness or perceived unkindness that happens because of fear, because of insecurity, as you said, because of anxiety, even because of feeling irrelevant, feeling maybe alone, feeling unseen. Yeah. I don't
Being
know.
mean, I mean, like, I get it. Like, it's hard to be a person and whatever, and everybody feels jealousy and anguish and resentment toward other people, and that doesn't feel good. But to like outwardly be mean to other people, that's just like inexcusable. And I think of like moments in my life, especially as like a younger, more immature person, where I wasn't nice or I was mean to somebody. It's just like that makes me feel so horrible and about myself, so
for sure. So I've talked pretty openly about some of the stuff I did as like just a fucked up teenager, and I look back on that time, and I do have to like remind myself, when I'm thinking about like and railing against sort of toxic culture and meanness and just dudes being idiots, I do have to reflect on my experiences as a teenager, because I did some of that shit. Like, I did stupid shit that was vandalism or destructive or whatever, just like just a kid being a dipshit. And I do have to sort of reflect, and that helps me sort of, I guess, bring more compassion into the noggin when I'm thinking about those dudes.
Yeah. I remember one case where I was a real piece of shit. I think I was in like fourth grade or third grade, and I like told this girl she smelled bad, and I was just like unprovoked, just being an asshole. And my parents like heard that I did that, and like this girl, I guess, lived down the street, and they marched me over to her house and made me go inside and apologize. And it was like the most horrifying thing that's ever happened to me, but it was like such a badass move on their part. And I was like bawling, and but it was like a real good holy shit moment,
Yeah, you'll never forget that moment.
Yeah, good stuff.
Yeah, good parenting there, I think.
Yeah.
So when did you get into making music? Did that start pretty young for you?
Yeah, I mean, I got a job at McDonald's when I was a little guy, so I could buy a guitar. And then a real turning point was my birthday is 2 days after Christmas. So these 4-track digital recorders had just kind of come out onto the market, and they got me like this sweet combined birthday Christmas present where it was like this digital multi-track recorder. And that really changed the game, because like from age 14 on, I was just like in my parents' basement just making little recordings. And I remember like putting down chords and then being able to layer like another guitar part over it, and then listening back to it, and it just blew my mind to shit. And so yeah, that was a real whirlwind of just like creative juice. That little device really helped me a lot. And I just found a bunch of all those old recordings not too long ago from when I was like a teenager, and I was actually quite surprised. I mean, some of them were shit, but like I was surprised at some of the stuff I came up with when I was a little person.
That's cool. Yeah. Was there a lot of music in the house? Like, did your parents listen to a lot of music?
My pops is a big rock and roll fan, so he's not a musician. Nobody in my family is like musical at all, but he worked for like a classic rock radio station selling like radio commercials for 38 years. Yeah, he just retired. So it was always like in the ethos of like, I think the living room, he'd pour a rum and coke and play air guitar to like Machine Head by Bush.
Yeah.
On this, at,
great
like
song.
loud volumes. And so we got into like CDs together and got into like Gin Blossoms and Beck and all these like Toad the Wet Sprocket, all these records from the early 90s, Better Than Ezra. And that was real formative because those were like fun power pop songs that were like 4 chords, simple melodies. I could play them on the guitar. And it was like a good place to start. Whereas like if I was trying to learn Iron Maiden solos, like off the bat, it probably wouldn't have been the Ezra Warding.
I love that. I think about sort of my experience with music growing up, and I my parents did a lot of shitty things, and but they did a couple of things right, and one of the things that they did right was the music influence. So like my mother was like Moody Blues and Joni Mitchell and stuff like that, and then my dad was the Beatles and David Bowie and like stuff like that. So I got a good mix of influence there.
Yeah, it's important to have good records around, Yeah. I think especially as a young aspiring musician, because there's a few kids, I've met some younger kids, and they're they've come out to shows, and like I always love talking to younger kids about what kind of records they have and what their influences are. And like some kids have Beatles records, and then other kids just have like Three Doors Down records. And I'm like, well, nothing against Three Doors Down, but it's like it's going to be hard to, I don't know, you need to have like nuanced records in your catalog, especially in your formative years, to like kind of shape your songwriting and how you think about music and how you write. Whereas like if you just have like 10 butt rock records, it's going to be limiting. So I try to like send playlists to some of these kids I meet of and it's fun. Not like I'm some like hyper literate discography musicologist. I'm not, but here's one. I remember we played a show in Vietnam a couple years ago, and I had like an hour to kill before the gig, and I was like just walking around this random neighborhood in Vietnam, and there's all the little tuk-tuks driving by, and it's chaos, and like all you smell is gasoline, and there's ladies like selling chickens on the sidewalk. And I stopped for a beer, and this kid, he was probably 14, he came up, he like gave me the beer. It was like 50 cents, and he was like trying to speak some English and knew a little bit of English, and he's like, oh, you're in a band, rock and roll. He's like, I love rock and roll. So I asked him if he'd heard of the Beatles. He said, what's that? I've never heard of the Beatles. And so I wrote down.
Wow, you blew this kid's mind.
Yeah, I wrote down all these like weird indie records for him, and like made him a list, and showed him some songs on my headphones, and he was like, I mean, he like shit himself. He couldn't believe it. He was like, holy shit, like, thank you so much. So who knows? Maybe that kid is ripping guitar now. And
he had just been listening to Three Doors Down only, and then you blew his mind. If
that, I mean, if Kryptonite even got there, probably not. So, yeah, if you're a young person, call in and I'll send you some records.
There you go. So, like, one of the things I love about, I mean, this is such a I don't know, cliche sort of idea, but like music is feely to me. Like music, like I certainly as a kid, when I was sort of feeling down or when I was feeling feelings that I couldn't discern, couldn't name, songs and listening to music, listening to things like, I mean, as a teenager, as a 13, 14-year-old, I listened to a lot of punk rock, early Bad Religion and NoFX and stuff like that. And that stuff like helped me process, even if I couldn't name the feelings, it helped me process shit, right? So I feel like music is powerful in that way. Can you talk a little bit about like some of those early experiences with music and feelings and all that?
Yeah, I mean, music is really one of the greatest therapies out there, and it's basically free therapy. So, it's, finding those songs that hit you and saving them. And and spending time with songs. I think it's just so easy to skip songs now, and we have the infinity of music at our fingertips, which I don't think that caters to music as a form of therapy as much, but it's nice if you can just get some decent headphones and take an evening and just really like sit down or stare at the ceiling and listen to records, and be really intentional about it, and have that be the only thing you do rather than like texting while listening to music and watching Netflix, which is fun, but it just you don't get the therapy that music brings you when you do that one thing at a time.
I feel that. What were some of the, you mentioned like listening to Bush with your dad. Like, what were some of the songs that you sort of latched onto when you first started getting into music?
Yeah, I remember hearing When I Come Around by Green Day on the radio, and I would like wait around for that song, like just sitting on a lawn next to a boombox, waiting for that to come on the radio. And that was all very exciting. I mean, that feeling will never be able to be recreated again, like waiting for something,
Oh, for sure.
In any arena. And then
I don't know if I've listened to the radio in a decade.
Well, the radio punishes us hard as listeners because it's the same songs we've heard the last 50 years, and it's the same 80 songs, just like them shoving it down our throats. And I don't know if that's ever going to change, but Green Day, When I Come Around, just like hearing really raw, crunchy guitar music that wasn't very polished, but was also very minimal. And, I didn't even know what a bass guitar was at that time, but I could hear those three instruments very clearly, all as individual, like, instruments. I could hear the bass clearly. I could hear the electric guitar, and I could hear the drums, and I could hear each tom as they were hit. So that was a formative song, and I couldn't believe Green Day wasn't British when I looked at the liner notes.
That is that on the Dookie album, that song?
Dookie, yeah, that was the second album I ever got.
Great album. I mean, that came out in what, 94? 94, like I was just reflecting on this recently with my wife and just looking at the releases in 94. 94 was an amazing year for music.
Throwing Copper, 16 Stone.
Yep, that one.
What else?
Stranger Than Fiction by Bad Religion.
Oh.
NoFX put Punk and Drublic out that year.
Yeah.
I think Nas put It Was Written out that year, which is a great rap album.
New Miserable Experience, maybe? Or no, that was later.
I'm not sure. But yeah, just a great year. And I was, in 94, I was, 13. So, at that time I was listening to all the like, let's skateboard and, bash our heads and like, let's get the fuck away from home, type of music.
So could you go to shows in the 90s? Like, could you go to the clubs?
So I never, like I did go to shows. So the first like big shows I started going to, speaking of punk rock, was Vans Warped Tour.
Oh yeah.
So Warped Tour started in like 91 or 92. And I think I went in like 95, 96 the first time. And then I went like 6 or 7 times, back to back to back. And it was always amazing and always disgusting because it was like 110 degrees out and you're in Anaheim, California, and you're on asphalt and you're like in mosh pits with strangers and they're punching you in the face. And you're just like elated.
Apocalypse.
You're elated to get punched in the face by a punk rock, guy who's been doing it for 40 years.
Unbelievable. Yeah, what is that?
Yeah.
Like the desire to be punched in the face at a mosh pit, because it's like a tale as old as time.
It really is. I think, well, it's maybe it's like in our bones. Like maybe it's this sort of evolutionary sort of thing. We're experiencing this beat together. We're it's like we're dancing around the fire, right? It's like we're just in it together, and it's never, whenever. And I'm sure you've been in a mosh pit before. Like whenever like someone gets in there who's like, I'm out for revenge. I want to hurt people. Like those people get their ass kicked and they get out. They get ousted, right? So you're there to like fuck shit up, but like in the most sort of sweet, compassionate way.
Yeah, I would worry about like the riot mentality of like a punk rock crowd turning on a man like in the middle of a mosh pit, because like you can't stop the inertia of rage. Actually,
I've
on
seen it.
that note, I was talking to my buddy Scotty, and we were talking about bar fight culture. And he was like, I'm pretty sure people just go to bars to fight just because they want to connect and just need a hug so badly. And
That's probably true.
it has to be true.
They just don't
why
know
else
how
would
to
you do it?
express themselves.
And I think so much of that primal nature has just been like totally deleted from our civilized world. And it's why, like, I'm a very composed person, and then I go play recreational basketball at the gym, and like we'll fight people.
You become a monster.
I
yeah.
become a monster, which it's only happened once or twice, but it's like I gotta take a break from recreational basketball. It's making me a piece of shit. Yeah.
It's funny. I think that's like an interesting insight, and it may be this evolutionary thing, because I played soccer for like 30 years. Into college, I played in college, played after college, and there were definitely moments, especially after college as a grown-ass adult, where I would just like lose my temper and like just knock someone on their ass, and I always felt good / deep shame.
Yeah. I think there's something okay about that if it's not a cheap shot. Like if you're competing and you're playing hard and you're like going at it hard, I think that's rad. Like I think that's really cool. I always love, like, in like basketball, like, it's easy to love like the scrapper, like the player who can't really shoot, who's not really an offensive player, who's not a flashy player, but who's like the hustle player. Like they're always like the most beloved player on the team. Like we had this guy in high school. We had a really great high school basketball team. We had one of the best players in the state. We had like 2 big 6'5" beasts, and we had like four scorers. And then we had one guy, this guy Clewen, who like couldn't really shoot, didn't really score, but he was like our enforcer. And he would like talk shit to the other team's best player and play lockdown defense on the other team's best shooter, and like dive on the floor for loose balls and like, get a bloody forehead every other game. But like he was like a fan favorite because he just held it down on the defensive end, But I don't remember any cheap shots ever,
That's good. I wonder if it's like, and I think that like as I'm saying this, and I'll say it in a second, I also reflect on that, like this is an excuse that has been used to like perpetuate violence and perpetuate toxic culture and masculinity and stuff. So the comment is like, I wonder if like some of this stuff is, like going back to like Roman times, or we watch Gladiator, like
Totally.
fight things. And it's like, just, I don't know, like maybe it's innately within us. Maybe we need to fight against this. Maybe we need to resist it more and maybe use it for good. I don't know. Like, I don't know what that looks like.
Yeah, I mean, there's something to that, because it's like, at the gym, if there's like a real battle on the court and like you get into a scuffle with somebody and like you get into a guy's face and talk shit, almost every time the person respects you more and you respect them more after. It's like, I thought we wanted to kill each other, but the next time I see the guy at the gym, it's like hugs and like bro hugs and like respect, and then we get on the same team and run the court or whatever. So that can be a pretty cool thing if it's done like in respect and not like out of malice or anything.
Yeah.
That itch needs to be scratched, the primal itch. But yeah,
maybe. Like I still am like deeply skeptical, but because I'm not a very competitive person. I always felt uncomfortable kind of in sort of team sport kind of situation, because it always felt a little bit too toxic and violent and let's crush it and kill it kind of thing that I just like, I despise. And so
I get it.
I guess I'm still navigating that emotionally. And
what about like growing your own food, or so you do anything like that? Like that's a primal thing.
Interesting. I do. Like we have peaches and tomatoes and herbs and stuff.
Like that, I feel like that could scratch that itch in the same way.
Interesting.
Almost,
Yeah, maybe. I do love the earth. The earth is wonderful. So maybe that is my primal scratching. I don't know. So as a rocker, musician, songwriter, when was your first like big, I guess, break or like sort of moment in your like turning point in your music career?
Yeah, I mean, I think music now, it's like you try to accumulate a lot of tiny victories, and
Mm,
that could be anything from like having a cool opening show for somebody, or having a good night at the merch table, or getting booked at a cool regional festival down the road. Whereas like I think the music industry before, you would either kind of get on the rocket ship and hit it big, or you wouldn't. You'd
interesting.
get signed and your record would break on the radio, or you wouldn't. So, I mean, oh man, there's just hundreds or thousands of tiny little wins along the way. I mean, one cool thing, I think into my maybe third or fourth year, the Violent Femmes brought me out on some shows. They're also from Milwaukee, so they helped me kind of a bit. And I think they took me out on 3 little mini tours throughout the years, and that was really cool. That was kind of
That's amazing.
a big boost to morale. You need kind of those. You need acknowledgement, I think, from your like musical elders once in a while to give you like a nod that you're doing it right and that kind of thing. And it's kind of cool, man. It's like at this point I've got to play with a lot of my musical heroes and have almost all of them on the podcast. So it's and it doesn't feel strange, or I don't even feel like a fanboy anymore at this point. They just feel like kind of my peers, and that's not me being like puffy chested or whatever. It's just like I've been doing it so long. I just feel really comfortable. Like got a guy from the Bare Naked Ladies came out to my show in Toronto a couple years ago, and they were like my first band as a kid. So the Violent Femmes, actually, they introduced me to the Bare Naked Ladies guys because they're friends. So Kevin Hearn from BNL came out to my show in Toronto, and it was like one of those nights where it was like there was a heckler and the crowd was a little bit disjointed, but for whatever reason, like I was just on that night, and I got the room to turn on the heckler, and they like started booing the heckler, and it was just really fun, and it was like this awesome show. And then people came up after the show, they're like, holy shit, you know the guy from Bare Naked Ladies, did you know he was at the show? And like he's like a ultra legend in Toronto, obviously. So
Yeah.
that was a really neat evening, and ended up like getting coffee with them the next day and stuff. So
That's so cool.
yeah, like things like that really keep you going.
I love this idea of the little victories. Like I think, like if I'm thinking about like living as a human person and this sort of culture that we live in that like really honors and rewards like big romantic gestures. Like you mentioned like how music used to be, and you have to like either make it or you're not a person, right? You're not a musician or whatever. But like we honor and reward like just like big sort of grand gestures and like big things and like crushing it and winning it and all that stuff. And I do think it's problematic. I do think it's not sort of aligned with like how we live our lives, which is like we have like, because I think in that we're bypassing a lot of the human experience. We're like ignoring a lot of the nuance and a lot of the like curiosity that's in those like little victories along the way. And it sort of, that perspective honors the sort of fallibility and messiness and non-linear sort of aspect of humanity.
Totally. Yeah. And like, on that note, I feel like, a tiny victory could be something as small as like getting 2 lawn chairs and grilling a burger on your sidewalk with a buddy and just like having nowhere to be for 5 hours. Like that stuff really boosts mental health, and like kind of it reminds you of like why you work, to like enjoy the fruits of your labor or whatever they say. So I can't stress enough how as a workaholic, how amazing it has been the past couple of years to finally like just like realize how bad of a workaholic I was, and like just like realize the point of diminishing returns. And it's like it doesn't help you. Like you can only work so much efficiently before you're just like randomly checking your email on your phone like an extra 20 times a day, you know?
Well, when we associate work as this intrinsic value, it becomes the thing that we can never get enough of, right?
Big time. Like when you like, I used to do this big time. I would associate my self-worth as totally congruent with like work and how well I was doing in music or whatever. And like if I was having a good month, I would be up, and then if I was like having doors slamming in my face, I would just be depressed. And it was like, I don't know, who gives a shit to even be playing music as a living is kind of a joke anyway. So I gotta really enjoy it before before Bezos drops his rocket, falls on the Earth, and we're oblivion.
Oh God, yes, that is probably going to happen.
Jeff, call in.
Yeah, call in 1-800-EMPATHY. So I just wanted to nerd out real quick because I saw that you have played with the new Pornographers.
Yeah.
I'm a huge fan of them. I think I saw them once live, and just all of those folks are just incredible. Like together, they're magical, and then like separately, they're just magical. They have their own acts, and it's incredible.
There's something about Canadians that they're just extra triple friendly. That gig was really special because it was really a gift. It's very rare you just get an email out of the blue from a promoter or an agent that's just like, hey, you want to open the show? You're like, usually you're like hustling, you're like trying to hit up the band, hit up their agent, having your people hit up their people. It's a nightmare. But for this cool promoter in Chicago, Jake Samuels, just hit us up and he's like, you want to open the show? It'd be a great fit. So went down there, and there's like 700 people there. It was a great show. I think it was one of our highest selling merch nights of all time.
Wow.
Because their crowd's awesome. It's like also like a geeky power pop rock band, which is like totally our wheelhouse. So, and I went out with the band after. They were really nice. We went out and sang Dr. Dre at karaoke. It was like they really went out of their way to hang, and it was it was a real special night.
That's amazing. I love to hear that. You hope that your heroes are sweeties, and sometimes they aren't, and sometimes they are. When they are, it's like, yes.
Yeah. And the weirdness of the road, it's so up and down. Like you can catch someone on a weird night, and you can, I toured with one of my heroes a couple years ago, and like you could, like he was nice. I could just tell he was burnt out by the road and just was not up to hang. And I didn't hold it against him because I've been there, and I've been the guy who just wants to go like hide in the van after gigs, and I'm racking my brain to think of like a band I've met that hasn't been friendly, and I can't think of one. So that's cool.
That's amazing. Yeah, that's good to hear. So you're in a tour right now, right? You're starting up like a big tour, like starting later this month or in September?
Yeah, I put out this book called It's Hard to Be a Person, Defeating Anxiety, Surviving the World, and Having More Fun. And it's just it's basically a bunch of illustrations making fun of my own anxieties and that kind of thing. So we're touring on that book and the soundtrack that goes along with the book this fall. And we're going kind of all over the Midwest and Mexico City and some other spots. So hopefully the shows don't get canceled by the COVIDius. But we'll be out there schlepping the miles in the unmarked white van.
With candy, handing out candy to children.
I make sure I keep no candy in the car. I don't want people to know I have candy in there. I don't want people to get the wrong idea.
Smart.
Yeah, it's a no candy van.
Good. So how has the reception been with your book and the music and those sort of two things together? Because like obviously the book, you get sort of personal, you get vulnerable about your anxieties and bringing that on stage as a musician. How has the reception been for that?
I've been pretty overwhelmed by the reception. The book is, we sold out of the books within 5 weeks, and it's like, I guess the book is like, thanks man, thanks Known. It's like less niche than music, we play like indie alternative music that's lyrically driven, and the book just, I think it probably just speaks to more people. So, or on a broader, like you can like Seether, you can like Tori Amos, or you can like Three Doors Down, or you can like Miles Davis and whatever. And you can probably relate to the book on some level. So, Yeah, man, that's all been very exciting, and it's free therapy for me too, because I get to talk to sweet fellas like you and vent out loud. And this is something I've only been doing the last couple of years, is just kind of like basically saying everything out loud, and it feels amazing, and I feel great doing it, and I think everyone should clear their skeletons from the closet if possible. And I don't mean like going on podcasts and like telling 1,000 people or whatever, but even if just hanging out with a buddy and being like, hey, this fucked up thing happened, I did this terrible thing or whatever, it feels amazing after you actually get the words out of your mouth.
Agreed, 100%. It's so, and I'd love to hear you speak to this. Maybe you have some stories, but it's so rewarding. You don't do it to like invoke sympathy or evoke sympathy. It's really about connection, right? It's about like being with a person, sharing your story, being vulnerable, and allowing them to see you where you are, right? And maybe have them sort of have a moment where they can reflect on their own experiences, and maybe they relate, and then there's this beautiful connection there. I think it's truly like the human experience. Yeah,
big time, man. And you're doing a great thing here. I think this is a really special platform, and you're such an easy person to talk to. You're a sweet dude.
No, thanks, Brett. Right back at you, sweetie.
Sure. It's an honor.
So your book is called Why It's Hard to Be a Person.
It's hard to be a person.
It's hard to be a person. Love that title. It is hard to be a person. I'm wondering for you, because I'm feeling that a lot right now. It's sort of hard to be a person sort of feelings. And by that, I mean, I am sensitive. I'm feely. I have a tendency towards sort of like taking on, what's going on in Afghanistan and Haiti and people are dying of COVID and all this stuff. And I'm like taking it on emotionally.
Right.
And of course I have to like have boundaries with that. Otherwise I'll just self-destruct. But like it's hard to be a person right now. I'm wondering if you can relate to that.
Yeah, I hear you. My ex-girlfriend, who's one of my closest humans of my whole life ever. I mean, she was like that hyper what is it called? Like kind of empathic, where you just absorb all the energy.
Yeah, highly sensitive,
Yeah, and that's a heavy thing. I mean, it's profound on one end. You get to feel these like incredible feelings, but then you absorb some of those more negative feelings and the pain and the sadness from people around you. And I can relate to that on some level. I'm kind of, I got to be honest, like I kind of cop out in some way, and I don't watch a lot of news, and I try not to pay attention to that too much of that stuff. And I don't know, maybe that's a cop out, maybe not, maybe it's smart. I don't know. But I just feel like I can only affect like my little small circles of, influence and people I'm close to and people who pay attention to the band and the journey or whatever. And hopefully I can make a positive inertia there, because I've definitely been in the wallows of like, shit, we gotta fucking save the world now, or it's going to be over by next week. And then once you start thinking like that, I mean, it's just, you got no chance, and you're only going to feel down,
Well, it goes back to the grand gestures we all reward, and where actually the nuance and the beauty and the true sort of impact is in these small moments, right? And you're doing wonderful work and being vulnerable on stage and talking, and writing this book, and like I think I believe that's where true change happens, is in our sort of communities. As long as there's sort of this forward momentum of compassion and kindness and love and care and curiosity, one heart at a time is what I always say.
Yeah. I mean, on a basic level, I mean, what else can you really do but just really be nice to people, on at the ground level.
Yeah, for sure. So we'll plug your things in a sec, Brett. But I like to wrap up the show talking about empathy heroes.
Mm-hmm.
So people in our lives, even characters from stories or movies or whatnot. Someone who's just deeply empathetic, caring, compassionate. I'll go first to give you a sec to think about yours.
Sweet.
My empathy hero this week is Wolf. She goes by Wolf on Instagram. Her Instagram handle's Wolf Genie, Gini, Wolf Genie on Instagram. And she's been doing just tremendous work in just talking very passionately and openly and vulnerably about her experience with the COVID situation and the vaccine situation and the anti-vaccine situation and the anti-mask situation, and bringing a lot of curiosity and critical thinking and empathy to that conversation when, as you know, it so many things in this world get so divisive and this versus that. And I think there's so much more to learn and glean when we can break down things on a more sort of curiosity gray sort of space level. And Wolf is doing tremendous work. And so listeners, if you aren't following her on Instagram, do. She's at Wolf Genie on Instagram. Give her a follow. She's my empathy hero this week.
Cool. Yeah, that was cool.
Yeah.
Let's see. I will empathy here. I'll give a shout out to my Uncle Marcus, and Uncle Jeff. They were longtime military fellas. Uncle Marcus was in the Air Force, just retired. He was in there like 40 years, and real sweet dude. Like, we have very different political beliefs and all that, but he ran hospitals and like war zones in Vietnam and stuff, and just a real calming presence. Has a couple beers each night, and just very, very big proponent of like helping out other countries and picking up others who are down and that kind of thing, and picking up the less fortunate. And but the guy just has a good time. He's not down ever, and he's just like really real present person, lives in the moment. Let's go get a fish fry. Let's grab an old fashioned. There's not much to worry about right now. We'll have a craft beer on the patio. It's all going to be groovy. So shout out to Uncle Marcus and Jeffro.
There you go. Love it. Well, Brett, where can the Feely humans out there connect with you, buy your book, learn where you're going to be playing on your tour, all that stuff?
Yeah, we're going to be all over the U.S. this fall. It'd be cool to see people in real life. I guess the mothership would just be my website. That's probably the best place. It's just brettnewski.com. That's the best place to grab the book because Bezos doesn't take 38% or whatever. But yeah, it's not for everyone. But if you like depression comedy and you want to have a laugh at your own evil brain, this maybe you dig the book. I'm not like an expert or anything on mental health. I'm just a regular person, and just wanted to put like the stuff that's made me feel better over the years, like the tactics and stuff I've done to kind of get out of my own head all in one place. So check it out if you want. There's a soundtrack that goes along to the book as well, just like eight new songs. So that's I think that's all the PSAs I got.
Amazing. Well, listeners, go to brettnewski.com. Check it out. Order his wonderful book. Check out his music. Go see him on a show if you're in the Midwest. That would be sweet. And that link will be in the show notes for this episode at feelyhuman.co. Brett, buddy, sweetie pie, thank you for being a part of You Me Empathy. I appreciate you. Thanks so much.
Yeah, no, hope we get to hang out in real life soon. You're a pro. It was really fun.
That would be awesome. And to you listeners, as I always say, I'm here, you're here. We're here together on this wayward, overwhelming, awe-inspiring, pale blue dot. We have each other. It's You, Me, Empathy.